Hello everyone, welcome back to Zero Poverty Talk. It's me, Asram, and I'm back with my friends.
Hi guys, I'm Reese Jacoby.
I'm Arvind Bajwa.
I guess this is Tanvi.
And we're going to go into our last episode, the concluding episode of this podcast, which is going to be empowering the next generation. But first, let's have a recap. What have we discussed so far? As university students, our first episode was surrounding the idea of what poverty is and what it stands in the world at the moment. We spoke a lot about definitions, what's happening in terms of poverty in the world, and if you haven't heard that so far, it's in the podcast, the playlist at the moment. So, Reese, what did we speak about episode 2? Could you share with the people?
Absolutely. Thank you, Azar. So, in the second episode, after we kind of framed what poverty is and what it looks like in the world, in the first episode and the second episode, we looked at some of the global policies that we see in different countries, kind of based off different experiences like Canada and different areas in the Middle East. We looked at the impact of those policies and those efforts towards reduction or eradication of poverty and kind of what we were seeing. We went into some of the details of those policies, like more in depth on different ones in Canada and again, so on in the Middle East. So just kind of show you guys what was going on, what efforts governments and different organizations were making. So yeah, it'd be nice to cap it off in the third episode.
For sure. Let's begin. So now empowering that next generation, there's plenty of different types of methods that can be used. I think a lot of people in different countries would opt for a different method and defend others more than the ones that have been already implemented in other countries. So let's start off with a massive one, which is education as a foundation. So what do you guys think? Like, how does education play a part in terms of empowering the next generation, making sure that poverty is something that's not only openly discussed, but also something that is being taught to students to tackle in the future and try to bring down its control over the world?
Yeah, I think one thing that we're going to see over and over again, and that we have seen, but in this episode especially, things that we're going to talk about are things that break cycles. So education is one of those things that gives people tools to get out of that poverty environment, whether that's education to get a higher income or get out of that area, location geographically. I think it's something really good that builds the foundation, especially if it's done while they're at a young age, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Fair enough. Arvin or
What
Ted?
else? I mean, like,
Yeah,
I
agree with you.
I also think, yeah.
I think, you're right. Building skills for these people so they can, have education, whether it be in a certain field, or skilled labor, for example, knowing how to work in trades or knowing how to work in agriculture. Whereas in most of these countries, where poverty has often occurred, is the number one source of income is usually agriculture. So if there's good education there, we can provide them to know how to work the soil, or how to go for more opportunities and educate them on how to improve their situation.
Yeah, totally.
It's true. I think it does provide gateway to better opportunities, and also I think it's necessary. I feel like when I've been like trying to research about this topic ever since our first episode, it is almost evident that how big of a thing education plays in parts of poverty, and I think it's almost necessary that it is implemented and people all get their like essential skills, critical thinking ability, and also like knowledge necessary to like kind of go through the complexities that this modern era brings to them.
Yeah, and the barriers that we've seen are that, in the other episodes that we probably talked about, were things getting in the way of education, were people having to work because incomes were low. So they're under the poverty line globally, and so their kids have to contribute to the family work, and that prevents them from getting educated. So if you can pay enough or get the positions that do pay enough, then you can allow them to go get educated and raise up.
That's true. That's
a
true.
lot of the problem is that a lot of these poor countries, the government's not funding education enough, or these kids are forced to work, like you said. So yeah, it's just a challenging situation on how do we build a system where they can do both to support their families, where they can get an education and also work as well.
Yeah, because a lot of the third world countries and different things, it's not mandatory to go to school, or what is mandatory to go to school is like a really short age. I think in some countries it was like as low as 3.9 years on average spent in school or spent getting education. Some went up from there, of course, but one of the bad
Which is
things.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
nothing.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, education also, like, we have to think about this. I mean, Sanvi and I, we both have been working in a couple of like projects. This is like obviously not our first course together in terms of this specific topic. I think it was discussed in a previous one. I do think that education also plays a good part in terms of kind of reminding us as students we are technically the next generation as well. Teaches us about the magnitude of poverty. I think Sanvi, you could definitely speak on this one, 100%.
Yeah, of course. I totally agree with you, Azhar. And I also believe that education has a power to break the cycle from one generation to the other, because if we think about ourselves, so if now we are educated, so we'll be thrive to educate our next generation. So if individuals are educated, so they're more likely to provide educational opportunities like for their children, and also creating a positive intergenerational impact. And also, I guess culture also plays a big role in that. So if education is becomes a priority in your culture, so that also promotes equality, and then promoting like no poverty, and then introducing poverty at a certain level.
Yeah, it almost takes like a well-educated individual to kind of make a change, because I think the more educated you are, the more of a powerful voice you hold. I think some people that are right now currently studying at our university and also in colleges and schools are being taught about poverty. And I think some of them which have this sort of a visionary, empathetic look towards this sort of topic actually do have an opportunity to make the change in the future as well. But let's talk
Mhm.
about like a kind of a contributing member of education itself, which is skill development. Like, what you guys think about skill development and how it's important to look upon in terms of when speaking about how to kind of break the cycle of poverty.
I think it's like what Arvin was saying about technology or the skills, specifically for farming, right? If you have the information, you have the skills that you got from getting your education or different things, then you can improve methods in impoverished countries, right? Or ones that are like if you bring farming knowledge or different things like that, it can definitely help maximize efficiencies.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I agree to that, because I think education fosters like community development by creating a skilled and knowledgeable workforce around. And that if you have skills, so I believe skills goes beyond what you're educated at schools or universities. So if you have certain skills, and if you're not able to get to any university or can't afford one, so maybe you can create an income source with your skills as well. So I guess skill is more important than being educated, or goes vice versa.
Yeah, and I don't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Education doesn't even necessarily have to mean university level degree. It can even be like workshop. Say Arvin as a farmer wanted to go teach in an impoverished country, he could go teach some knowledge and skills in a workshop or something like that. Like I feel like I see a lot of stuff about like photography workshops and different things around here, and it could be more meaningful skills to reduce pressure on families and different things in different areas, right?
Yeah, that's key.
Like some we're going to talk about later on, it could be even like financial workshops where you teach about saving and different things, or
Oh, yeah,
business.
100%. 100%. We will be moving on to that. Fair play. We're going to move on to like entrepreneurship and innovation, and how, because I think entrepreneurship in itself has changed a lot over the years. Like, if you asked an entrepreneur 20 years ago, what is entrepreneurship? He'd probably tell you, well, it's me trying to create a business so I could live comfortably. But now it's a bit different. I think entrepreneurs nowadays not only have a responsibility upon themselves to build an economic empire, but also a sustainable and also economical sort of a responsibility to kind of work around and try to see if they can benefit their community as well. What you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think that's like if you think of corporations in general, you think like a traditional view of corporations, and one that's still rather prominent today is the reason they're around is to maximize shareholder value or maximize shareholder returns. But I feel like, what's commonly called corporate social responsibility is becoming more prevalent and more important in society, or in our area anyway. So it's definitely been a shift, and companies have to. I feel like companies that don't value or don't foster corporate social responsibility, where they look out for their communities or other things, suffer as a result. So there is some long-term benefits if they focus on that, right?
I think another good point is like example in these like countries that are struggling economically. If you can promote entrepreneurship within the average citizen, they can build their own businesses, and they can also help the economy by employing some of the employees. Whereas it doesn't have to be the biggest company, right? Where it can just be at a local small scale level.
That's true.
Totally. And it builds it can build, if the government's functioning properly, it can build a tax base, or like you say, it can just be a direct benefit, like hiring and paying employees, different things like that, or using local resources.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tanvi spoke to. I think while researching, we found a lot of details about like other entrepreneurship. I think Tanvi spoke to me about like certain like organizations that are like focusing a little bit on like trying to address the issue of poverty. I think some NGOs and stuff like that.
Yeah, we talked about that. During my research, I came across one thing, that's conditional cash transfers. So some of the organizations are running programs that have been widely used as an effective tool for poverty reduction in developing countries. So these programs basically provide cash to targeted households under specific behavioral conditions, such as ensuring children's school attendance or regular health checkups. So CCT is basically have been perceived as effective tools, and their ability to enhance both the income of the poor in the short run and their human capabilities. So, and one of the research was in Indonesia. They use conditional cash transfer program dramatically to boost school enrollment rates. So, which also is related to education that we just talked about. So they are promoting education to children who can't afford to go to school. So they help pay their school fees, and then also they can have access to healthcare facilities, and also families permanently benefited from extra support, which leads to significantly fewer children suffering from stunted growth. So I believe this is a very good initiative by such countries that are promoting more healthcare facilities and also education at the same time to reduce poverty in their countries.
Yeah, I think so. I think also related to entrepreneurship, I think there was also, I think it talks about how certain businesses are also like kind of like remodeling some of their organizational structure to kind of change not only the idea that they're looking over like a profitability at their end goal, but also as like sustainability as well. Talked about like the credit thing. Is it done like do you think technology plays a big part in that as an enabler for like people to kind of bring these ideas into life? Because I think without it, I think it's obviously much harder to do.
Yeah, of course, I think technology has played a significant role in implementing these initiatives and also mitigating poverty by innovative solutions. So, for example, there is one initiative or maybe tool known as M-Pesa, which is a mobile money service that's originated in Kenya, but it allows user to deposit, withdraw, and money transfer using their mobile phones, which also impacts people's inability to do any financial activities. So M-Pesa has transformed the way people manage their finances, and then empowering individuals in rural areas to engage in economic activities and reducing their barriers to financial services, which impacts people's financial needs. And also, like I just talked about the cash transfer thing. So technology has significantly played a very important role, because if they didn't have any technology to like transfer money overseas, or even if you would understand, we are still here and our parents are in different countries. So how technology has made it easy to have money transferred overseas for
True.
any means. So I
Yeah.
guess technology, of course, plays a very important role, and these
Yeah.
organizations and all the like the what the charities and everything that they're doing. So technology is always helping them. And even if we are sitting here and if we want to help someone, say I am from India, so I want to help someone back in India to reduce the effect of poverty or any other sustainability goal, so technology will help me use my money to help those people in need.
I think, yeah, it also
Even
provides it goes on to provide definitely an option. But like Reese, you had something to say on there, mate.
I was just gonna say, even like I think about what we're doing here, which is raising awareness for SDG 1, no
Yeah.
poverty. We're using technology to get our message out and to be more effective than word by word,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like
True.
Andy, you said, I
Yeah.
think you have friends at home that are watching the videos, so some of our analytics will show that, and it's just kind of interesting how we can get them out there more effectively. If our goal was a direct contribution to that, it would probably definitely help as well.
Yeah. I would also think it's also giving the voice to the voiceless. That's kind of how it describe technology and how it helps out under people who don't have sort of internet. Like I've seen some of the countries that have been that are suffering from poverty because of the lack of an economic stability within a country does benefit a lot if the idea of technology is introduced in that country, because now it gives these people a sense of hope that they can actually do it, that their lives are being shown towards millions of people, and that can bring they can bridge the gap between these people and kind of help them overall. I think one other thing that I would like to talk about in terms of being more educated towards this, similar to technology and also entrepreneurship, is financial literacy. And I think Irvin, you were one of the pioneers for this sort of idea, because you were introduced in the first place, and I was very impressed with the idea that you had this sort of idea. So you know what, speak to us about a little bit about financial literacy.
Okay. So pretty much, just educating people on how to on basic financial concepts like budgeting, saving, investing. Sharing tips on how to improve the, literacy, literacy on how to save money and how to save for the future of their economic well-being, pretty much. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add to that?
I mean, yeah, I will ask a question to all of you. How many times have all of us have thought about, saving money? And we're all students, obviously, we don't, we must be thinking about saving. Has there ever happened where you thought about, all right, I want to save money for the future. Maybe I shouldn't buy this. Maybe I shouldn't buy that. A little bit like that.
Yeah, I think one of our biggest concerns as Canadians, young Canadians, is probably the housing market, right? We want to, in the future, we want a place to live in, what we can call home. But that's one of the challenges that many Canadians are facing in the U.S. is finding a home where they can call their own, which that can be affordable to them.
Yeah. Reese, Sanvi, did you guys also have this sort of idea?
I own a house now, and I bought it in peak COVID when prices were down a bit, but I mean they've gone up a little bit, 20% more, and I work in real estate as well. But definitely a challenge, compared to a lot of my friends they've been working different jobs and things, and I've been in school for so long, but I've also been working. Definitely a freaking challenge, and I feel very privileged, right, in using technology, all sorts of things to be successful at work, different DocuSigns that cost money to use, different laptops, professionals. So
that's true. Sanvi, do you think do you have the same? Because I think because me and Sam both are international students, I think we have obviously our also for me specifically, I think our cultural upbringing does teach me a lot about saving and trying to give to a much needier person who would need that money more than me using it for something that I don't think is really required at this point. So,
Yeah, I totally agree to that, because in our culture we are always taught to save money. I remember when I was a kid, I I used to get money from my relatives when they used to come to my place, and then my mother used to take that money away from me and little wallet
I
from
can
me,
relate to that.
I can also relate to that. Yeah, 100%.
so that I just don't waste money. And I was always looking for that money, and I couldn't find it anywhere till date. So we are of course saving money here too,
Sure,
because
100%. So do you guys think, like, now you've spoken about how, like, importance of saving money? Obviously, some of us comes from, like, different backgrounds, but, like, saving money can be essential for a person. Do you think that in some developed countries, I was like, because you do see that there are, like, homeless people currently in Canada. You can see homeless people in like in North America in general, also in parts of Europe as well. Do you think that that poverty has now gone away from the idea of people being unable to pay something, and more towards like people are making bad financial decisions overall?
I
I
think
feel
it
like
could attribute to more than that as well. Like, another big, huge problem is also mental health, right? Within
Yes,
the
yes.
country, the drug epidemic, the opium. So I think that plays a huge factor in bad financial decisions. And it's not their fault, but like, it's hard to, it's like a disease, right? Getting addicted to drugs. So I think that's one
Mm-hmm.
maybe huge factor in the increase of poverty in our society, as say in North America.
I feel like
True.
also relates to kind of what we were talking about with education and skill development and entrepreneurship and how governments foster different things. Like, the British Columbia government and like a bunch of different resources around locally, they offer tons of stuff to try and make first time home buyers benefit and different things. And like a lot of, they're kind of creating the environment where they want people to buy things like that, right? So if I have that information, I'm like, oh, I need to save X, Y, and Z to be able to purchase this. That definitely helps.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Like educating on budget and stuff, how to keep
Yeah,
costs low.
Yeah,
how,
100%,
how to
100%.
increase credit and having access to credit. Like I think one of the things we talked about was like um, financing without having to provide collateral, right? Microfinancing resources and things,
Yeah,
and that
yeah, we
definitely
did that. We did discuss.
lifting
Yeah.
poverty. So
Yeah, that's good as well. So now we also got community engagement. Now we spoke a little bit about culture and how big of an impact culture can have on on certain individuals, and then their ideology of poverty is based on some of those things. Do you guys think like these sort of like support systems that we have that we're given from birth plays like a huge role in terms of facing poverty? Do you think that would have also like have a positive impact on people who are also belong to some of these communities as well?
totally. Yeah, like is this in sense like where you're born is kind of ties into things, or
Are you talking about like from the family background or like how your upbringing?
I'm sorry, maybe like both, because I think both are good supporting support groups. So, like our family always remains as like our strongest support group, but also like let's see like fellow Canadians, or for me like fellow Pakistanis, or like Tanvi, fellow Indians, people from the same culture, share the same culture, can also like kind of provide like a powerful support system for like poverty. Do you think that in developing countries, do you think this sort of community engagement will help them? Like if I helped someone from my native country, he would feel I'm helping, therefore like trying to like address poverty. It's hard to explain on this thing, but that's what I have to say.
ties into, I think it's like I know we're trying to tie everything to everything. So this kind of ties to, for me, it ties to entrepreneurship where, you kind of
Yeah.
look at your community and you work with your community to kind of uplift each other. So I feel like definitely,
Mm-hmm.
because another thing we talked about is a lot of NGOs and like local organizations and charities and things. So I feel like definitely your support system matters. And,
Yeah.
fostering, if you can get more people, greater community engagement or greater community support, that'll only help everybody.
That's good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we also
Right.
talked about government programs in the last podcast about how they support, people that are in poverty. Like Reese, you discussed about that, how Canada does it.
Mm-hmm.
That's good as well. Let's talk about a little bit now. We've spoken a lot about what's in our own control as people, but let's speak about like global perspectives as well. How global corporations and awareness contribute to poverty eradication. Also, like a little bit about policy advocacy. What you guys have thoughts on these two topics?
I'm thinking right now.
It's fine. I guess Yeah, I mean, we spoke a little bit. Anyone who's just joined in for this episode, we did speak a lot about policies and certain regulations that have been placed in certain countries to kind of address this thing. So what do you guys think? Like, do you think this is like the stuff that's already been laid upon? Is that enough, or do you think certain models are now either outdated or underused to the point where now poverty is kind of piling over, and it's just the regulations that have been placed like a couple of years ago are failing to address it and are failing to kind of tackle it now?
I think knowing more about a topic gives you more of a base to do something about it. So if I look at like some of the things you presented about what you saw in Pakistan, you're like, oh, we had good success with this. I feel like that gives you, or me more information on how I can do things myself. So I feel like it's good, based on what I've seen, kind of thing, right? You know what to avoid potentially, and you're not having to explore everything yourself.
Yeah, true. Also, like policies, I think play a good part as well because like certain policies have been put out there in certain countries that support the ideas that we spoke about. So education, skill development, and also like economic opportunities. So like encouraging people to that government really wants to help in the situation.
And I think a big goal, a big idea, we have to think it's United Nations. It's not just about what you see in front of you. It's about kind of what's going on across the nations that are members and across the world. So it's nice to understand, it's more than what you just see, probably.
No, that's for true. That's for true.
Tanvi,
Yeah,
anything?
and as we talked about technology, so of course technology is also helping people get aware of the poverty situations in all countries globally. So which
Yeah.
as we have seen the situations in Palestine recently, so technology also plays a very big role. And of course, as Reese mentioned, so United Nations goals, sustainability goals are not just for a specific country. They are affecting people globally. So of course, people are able to see a global perspective out of that, and also World Bank for that matter.
Yeah, true. Very true. I mean, none of us are we're all students here. We can only raise awareness as much as we can. But like, what do you guys think is like good ways for like people, similar age who want to kind of help another person trying to, get off the street, live a better life, obviously pull people out of poverty. What do you guys think they can do to like address this issue in like their own way?
From my experience, you can go ahead if you want to go first. Okay, I'll go. I guess from my experience, like I volunteered at in the local Abbotsford food bank for like a year and a half.
That's good.
And you learned a lot about how much people rely on the food bank. It's pretty shocking to me because all these people they give up their spare time to help out, and it's just throughout the day people coming in and out of the food bank just for food, especially in a country like Canada where you don't expect that.
Yeah, that's very true. It's surprising to see how many people rely on the food banks. Actually, just more importance towards why some of these like projects need to be more promoted by the local government and also be appreciated by the local community as well, because it does raise so much. Like when you look at like initial impact, the output it makes is incredible.
Yeah, I think it's important for people that do want to make a difference. Now if we're raising awareness and somebody wants to do something, it's being aware that there are local organizations around them. They don't necessarily have to be in the Fraser Valley here, but there's likely, Red Cross is an international organization that's in a lot of communities, and there's different local ones as well. Like in my experience, one of my birthdays a few years ago, we were in Vancouver on Hastings, and we were like giving out sandwiches, and we just made a bunch, put out a table and stuff, and like give out food. So even if you can't get involved in a local organization, which I'm sure they're looking for help, you can also take initiative yourself, right? Although that may not have, there's bigger things you can do. That is something.
Yeah, that's pretty true as well. Yeah. What about like other things, like maybe like, because poverty is something that gets very much attention. Like I think if you go to Instagram and you just type in poverty, you'd see multiple videos, reels that are speaking about it. Like, do you guys think that more engagement can be made to kind of bring in, like, for example, I think books, documentaries, or like certain like online courses to give like a breakthrough of what's happened so far to kind of educate people in a different way if someone doesn't want to read like a 38-page report.
Yeah. I mean, I think negativity flourishes on social media. So if you can provide a resource off that flourishment or something, right, rather than just looking for the reaction, that can definitely help. And if you don't, like, I feel like there's a lot of sites, like there's Archway Community Services, which is an organization in the Valley here. It's got some links. It was suggested by somebody working on the UFV sustainability department. They said, hey, this is somebody that we think is good, and they have a bunch of resources. Like when you're on their website, you can see Abbotsford Community Hub Center, Cedar Outreach Society, Center for Hope Salvation Army. Like there's tons of local things that are relatively easy to access. So if you can utilize that, that reaction to direct people to something, then yeah, I feel like it could be good. But yeah.
I think Tanvi, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to the point that you just made. It's very interesting to see how people are not very educated about the situations that are happening around the world, or even in their specific countries. Because I remember working as a fundraiser for like 2 or 3 charities, such as I was working for WHO, UNICEF, and BC Children's Hospital. So when we used to raise funds for those people in need, for children, so people were not aware about what we were trying to raise awareness for, or what we were trying to get funds for. So it's very important to have people educated and have right education, and not just what they see on Instagram or any social media platform. Because on social media, everyone has a different perspective. So you see positives and you see negatives, as Reese mentioned. So I guess it's very important to have people educated. So on our part, maybe we can just do is what we can, like, educate people by raising awareness on any social media, or even educating them with any different courses, as I mentioned.
Yeah. I think if you guys ask me like what's like, or for anyone else has this question, like what can we do, I think the bare minimum is accepted, because I think that if there is a child who is currently suffering from poverty, I think he'd appreciate if I could just post on my Instagram something that I think is wrong about poverty and how it should be addressed, basically doing the bare minimum. And I think it's important that people understand that they do have a very, very, very major influence on these things. I mean, we're looking at, like, it's not just, I think also in political issues as well, so many people do parades, they speak against something that's like something that's massively wrong. And I think poverty is just like that. It's something that is being addressed, but I don't think many people know much about it to speak on it. And then the one thing people can actually do is learn about poverty and try to, address it in their own way. Now, Arvin, you spoke about the food bank and volunteering. That works out. That's good. I've mentioned about documentaries. Reese, you mentioned your own methods. Tanvi, done yours. Do address it in your own way. That's the best way to kind of get rid of it in the first place, because I think a lot of people are either shy, or they maybe have this thing for like, do I have what it takes to make a difference? It doesn't mean anything. I mean, first, for those people, I would like to say that one voice could change millions. Like your one voice could like have other people stand up with you and against poverty. That's what I think is going to happen.
I feel like you think about like how much we've learned about this just in the 3 episodes. It's a lot of information, and with that, a lot of resources, right? That we come across.
Yeah. It does usually, like I was saying, usually we live in our own lives, right? We don't really think about poverty. Like how often you guys think about poverty for this project, right? Like I can relate to that. Like saying, like before this, have you guys done as much research as you have for this brew project on poverty?
No, I haven't done research on it.
I mean, we know poverty is. I think everyone here knows what it is. in our own ways. Some of us have experiences where we've seen someone who is obviously shouldn't be in the situation that he or she is in. Some of us are like find that out like another way, maybe through like a movie, maybe through like a series or something. We all find it on our own ways, but like addressing it is the most important aspect
Yeah.
of it. Which so
Yeah.
I guess I'm also a victim, like a person that's not really just as much as I could, but I try my best.
Yeah, that's all you can do, right? Try your best and taking it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So this is great. I think we've come to the end of our journey and the end of Zero Poverty Talks. I think it's been a great journey, I would say. We've had good laughs, we've had good discussions about poverty as a whole. And I think not only has this, obviously, this is a university course, as we've mentioned previously, but I think it has been sort of an eye opener for myself. I think it has been for you guys as well. And
Yeah.
also a bit like building empathy towards, people who are going through poverty, and, actually a great deal of awareness of already. We've actually like done quite a few things as well as this podcast in itself. We've gone through a couple of YouTube videos, which has our episodes on as well, and also a couple our Instagram page as well. Basically, trying to allow people to look at what we've done and try to gain the message and go out there and do their part.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, anything else you guys want to say before I give the last regards to everyone?
I feel like it's been really interesting to see how prevalent poverty is, and like the goal of this is obviously reducing extreme poverty, which is kind of the people who are receiving the lowest amount of income are living off the lowest amount of income, and it's been nice to see that there is progress towards it, but there's so much more to do. So if you guys are out there listening to this podcast and you do have those resources available to you to help, then we definitely encourage it, because like you said, it's kind of raised levels of sympathy for it, and definitely awareness in our own minds, I would say, in local environments.
That's great words.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Alrighty, so with that, I must bid everyone adieu, good night, and goodbye. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.